I'm Jenna Enoch. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. President Joe Biden is struggling to hang on to his presidential campaign after a floundering debate performance. Last night, he held a high-stakes meeting at the White House with over 20 prominent Democrat governors, as 3 more Democratic lawmakers publicly called for him to drop out. Today, he'll have a chance to showcase some vigor when he hosts the 4th of July celebration at the White House. Meanwhile, Hurricane Beryl is barreling toward Mexico after leaving a trail of destruction through the Caribbean. This morning, the storm weakened to a Category 3 hurricane. Beryl is expected to bring dangerous storm surge and damaging waves across the Cayman Islands late Thursday into Friday. While most of the country will be taking part in 4th of July celebrations with fireworks and cookouts, one California city has canceled its annual celebration. The ongoing wildfires. The cancellation comes from California fires. And in the United Kingdom, voters are casting their ballots today. The snap vote, called by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, is being held months earlier than necessary and caught much of his Conservative Party by surprise. It's expected the Labour Party will win control of Parliament for the first time since 2005. Those are your headlines. Now here's your weather on the ones.
Happy 4th of July. I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez. It is a hot one across the west where we have more heat advisories. Look at Portland, 91 degrees today, Dallas 101, Nashville 97, and a hot day in Washington, D.C. You're in the 90s with a heat advisory. Areas of rain have already produced some flooding in Missouri, including in Kansas City. Tonight for the fireworks, you might have some showers and storms in Oklahoma, all the way up to Wisconsin, and parts of the Northeast do have a rain chance this evening. Enjoy your day.
Thank you for joining us here on Spectrum News. I'm Jenna Enoch. Happy 4th of July. Our top story, President Joe Biden is struggling to hang on to his presidential campaign after a floundering debate performance. Well, last night he held a high-stakes meeting at the White House with over 20 prominent Democrat governors. Now, the president's trying to project competence as 3 more Democratic lawmakers publicly called for him to drop out on Wednesday. And now ABC News says it will air their entire interview with the president in primetime on Friday. Our national reporter Evan Kosloff has more from the White House.
3 Democratic governors and Biden allies expressing confidence that President Biden can turn it around as they left the White House Wednesday night.
When you love someone, you tell them the truth. And I think we came in and we were honest about the feedback that we were getting. We were honest about the concern.
In it to win it.
We finally beat Medicare.
The meeting was Biden's latest attempt to shore up support after last week's disastrous debate against Donald Trump.
There's nothing.
As he tries to prevent a trickle of Democrats seeking to replace him atop the party's ticket from becoming a flood. After Texas Congressman Lloyd Doggett became the first sitting Democrat to call for Biden to drop out on Tuesday, 3 more followed suit on Wednesday. Arizona Democrat Raul Grijalva and 2 Massachusetts congressmen, Jake Auchincloss and Seth Moulton, who wrote in part, "When your current strategy isn't working, it's rarely the right decision to double down. President Biden is not going to get younger." Overall, 24 Democratic governors and the mayor of D.C. attended the meeting, in person or virtually, including some who've been floated as possible replacements if Biden were to bow out, like California's Gavin Newsom and Michigan's Gretchen Whitmer. Vice President Kamala Harris, who would be the most likely to take his spot, was also in the room.
We are grateful to hear the level of excitement and choice in November.
The next few days could be make or break for the president. On Friday, he'll sit down for an extended interview with ABC News, his first since the debate, before hitting the campaign trail in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. His every move and comment sure to be closely watched.
The president telling people he's evaluating the race.
False. That is absolutely false.
In a tense White House briefing, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre pushed back on reporting that President Biden has acknowledged privately that his candidacy could be unsavable if he doesn't turn it around quickly.
The president responded directly when asked about this question because we said that we would, and the president said it is absolutely false.
Despite the onslaught of criticism, President Biden has so far remained defiant, saying that he has no plans to drop out. In an all-staff meeting with his campaign, he said in part, "I'm in this race to the end." Reporting here at the White House, this is Evan Kosloff, Spectrum News.
Despite the challenges for his campaign, Biden has an opportunity today to project vigor as he holds a celebration at the White House for the 4th of July. Biden, the First Lady, the the president and the second gentleman will host military and veteran families for a barbecue this evening before Biden delivers Independence Day remarks from the South Lawn. Later on, the president will view a fireworks display over the National Mall. Hurricane Beryl is now heading towards the Cayman Islands after slamming Jamaica yesterday. The storm became the earliest Category 5 hurricane ever in the Atlantic on Tuesday, causing widespread damage all across the Caribbean. Help will soon be on the way. Spectrum News' Greg Pallone is in Titusville, Florida, where one man is once again answering the call.
Joe Hurston of Air Mobile Ministries is taking flight again after hundreds of relief trips to war-torn or storm-ravaged countries south of Hurricane Beryl. Little Donkey will be in the air soon.
Tell you what, man, this little airplane has flat delivered the mail. I mean, it is just kick butt.
Joe and co-pilot David Wallen from Wilmington, North Carolina, have done this type of missionary work for years. They're making sure all of their equipment, like radios, are in working order and bringing along life jackets, first aid kit, blankets, and an inflatable life raft.
Sat phone, very, very important.
The goal is to get behind the hurricane and land in damaged areas.
We just don't really know what to expect, but our plan is going to be, after this passes, then we're hoping to come in on the backside. We're going to shoot for Puerto Rico.
The mission is to bring water purifiers to places where there is none or it's contaminated.
The hurricane rips things up, rips out sewer and clean water mix because they run right together. When that happens, your water source will kill you.
Joe and David both believe it's God's work.
So it blesses me because I get to see God's hand and his power, and we get to save some lives.
What better way to demonstrate the love of God than to bring people clean water when all their water's been destroyed?
In Titusville, Greg Pallone, Spectrum News.
While most of the country will be taking part in 4th of July celebrations with fireworks and cookouts, one California city has canceled its annual celebration due to the ongoing wildfires. California state parks estimate 26,000 people remain displaced by the fires. The Thompson Fire sent up a huge plume of smoke again Wednesday, after growing to more than 5.5 square miles. At least 3 homes have been destroyed by the fire. There's no word of any injuries so far, and the cause is still being to the polls today to decide the future of Britain's government. Minister Rishi Sunak's controlling Conservative Party is expected to lose power for the first time since 2005. The Labour Party, led by former lawyer Keir Starmer, is expected to gain enough support to form a government. That government would then need to be approved by King Charles. That's typically just a formality. Hot dog. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. The big Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest is today. We hear from reigning champion Miki Sudo about what it takes to cut the mustard and bring home the title.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have been better. We're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, we know that internet is a vital tool to help you fulfill your dreams.
My dream is to become a video game developer.
My dream is to get my online college degree. That's why Spectrum has affordable solutions to keep you connected. At Spectrum, we are committed to deliver reliable, affordable internet and unlimited mobile to keep you connected to what matters most to you.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suit. One day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez. A happy 4th of July, and it is a hot holiday for a lot of us. We'll talk about this coming up. A chance of rain today that could impact some fireworks and hurricane barrels in the Caribbean. We'll have an update on that coming up in about 10 minutes. But look at all the heat advisories from Florida, Tampa, Orlando to Dallas, Texas, Little Rock, Arkansas. There's an excessive heat warning for you. There's a heat advisory for parts of the mid-Atlantic, including Washington, D.C. The heat along the West Coast is going to be a big story. California, some areas have excessive heat warnings through early next week, but also parts of Washington and also Oregon, including in Portland. Those heat advisories, excessive heat warnings continue. This big area of high pressure is in place. We're going to continue to have this high holding on with temperatures over 100 and for parts of the Southwest, including in Phoenix. Areas of rain have been moving across parts of the Midwest this morning, and we're looking at more rain into the afternoon. Some storms will be across Kentucky and Ohio. Areas of rain will try to move into the Northeast, and that means we could see some rain right around the time of fireworks in New York, New Jersey, into Washington. Look at more heavy rain along this frontal boundary here, slicing across Oklahoma and into parts of Missouri, Illinois, and Wisconsin too. The West Coast should be drier but hot. There's a risk of severe weather today. There's a smaller risk in parts of Virginia, West Virginia, and Kentucky, but then where you see this yellow shading, there is a slight risk of a severe storm, mainly south of Minneapolis or near Cedar Rapids, Iowa, parts of the western areas of Wisconsin, and then we also have much of the central southern areas of Missouri with a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. So when you're or severe storms, isolated tornadoes, damaging wind, and large hail. So just try to be safe for this holiday.
If you're just joining us or heading out the door, here's a look at what you need to know. President Joe Biden is struggling to hang on to his presidential campaign after a floundering debate performance. Last night, he held a high-stakes meeting at the White House with over 20 prominent Democrat governors, as 3 more Democratic lawmakers publicly called for him to drop out. Today, he'll have a chance to showcase some vigor when he hosts a 4th of July celebration at the White House. Meanwhile, Hurricane Beryl is barreling toward Mexico after leaving a trail of destruction through the Caribbean. The storm weakening to a Category 3 hurricane. And in the United Kingdom, it's expected the Labour Party will win control of Parliament for the first time since 2005. And that's what you need to know. It's a 4th of July tradition just as popular as the fireworks and barbecues. Today, competitive eaters will chow down on the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest in Brooklyn, New York. Well, this year, reigning champion Joey Chestnut is banned because of a dispute over an endorsement deal. But the queen of the event, Micki Sudo, is back in action. My colleague, Bree Driscoll, spoke with Micki about the big event.
Thank you so much for joining us. Are you ready for the big day? Are you ready for competition?
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be back. I've got some huge competition, especially in the form of Mayoi Ebihara out of Japan. She's back. I expect high numbers out of her, so I'm prepared to put up some even larger numbers.
I know Joey Chestnut is not going to be there this. He says it's bittersweet that he's not going to be there. What's your take on all of this?
Yeah, I mean, Joey's been such a great friend on and off the circuit. I'm so happy that he had such a lucrative opportunity to go work with another company. Obviously, I'm going to miss him. But with that said, I think what this means for the contest is you'll see 5 or 6 other guys really push themselves, push each other, put up personal bests all across the board. This contest on the guys' side might be won by a fraction of a hot dog. It could possibly go into overtime. I think it's more exciting than it's been in recent history.
That is a great point, that it really opens up the field. You're a household name. You've done so much for female competitive eating. What is the secret to your success? Is that you're so good at what you do? Is it your personality? How were you able to achieve that?
I think it just helps that I love doing what I do. I mean, it's work, but I love it. So, I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this 11 years later. And I think, you know, just my joy and my love for the sport shows, hopefully.
Now, you've broken a lot of competitive eating, cheese slices, even donuts. Okay, so I have a question for you. Does taste play a factor, or is it more the structure of the food? Like, what works the best?
That's a good question, because a lot of these contests test our capacity, but I usually don't run out of space. I start to flavor fatigue. So that's over the course of 10 minutes when your taste buds and then your brain just wants to slow things down because the overwhelming, you know, whether it's sweet or savory, the taste just kind of starts to get to me over the course of 10 minutes. So I use a liquid to offset that. When I'm eating donuts, I'll have black coffee. When I'm drinking when I'm eating hot dogs.
You have coffee when you're
yeah, exactly. I mean, both on and off the competitive
But with
circuit.
the donuts? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'll have hot black coffee. I'm eating hot dogs. I want something sweet, so I actually have a strawberry, orange, banana, 0-calorie drink mix.
Wow, that's fascinating. And what advice would you give for somebody who's just thinking about getting into this? Like, how do you start out?
For a lot of us, you know, you don't choose competitive eating. It'll kind of choose you. So if you're having fun, I would just say stay with it. You know, it's perfectly enjoyable as a spectator too. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, especially on the women's side, you know, we've got qualifiers for the hot dog eating contest months leading up to July 4th. So I would just say sign up at majorleagueeating.com and, you know, see if you have fun with it.
It'll choose you. I love that. When you were growing up, did you ever picture this would be your future, that you would be a competitive? What did you want to be when you were growing up?
Not at all. I don't know. I mean, I went into college thinking I was going to go off to law school. I mean, so much has changed, but I love the path that I've kind of fallen into. But, you know, while competing, Nick and I met Nick on the circuit.
Your husband,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. When we decided to start a family, I decided that I needed to kind of have like a longer term vision. So I'm actually back in school. So I plan to do this, but that's kind of going to be my second career.
Wait, that is fascinating. Dental hygiene of all things, too. Do you think you have a better perspective of what you do to go into that? Or what made you choose dental hygiene?
I mean, I'm just like, I just, honestly, now that I'm in the program, I love it so much. I love the learning aspect. I love that you get to teach the public about taking care of their mouths and their teeth. I love the clinical portion. It's just been such a fun program, about halfway through, and I'll be done next May.
And last question, you ate 48 and a half hot dogs in 2020. What's your goal this year?
I'd love to hit that 50 mark because 48 and a half is such a messy number, you know, that, especially with the half. So if you round it up to 49 and then 50 is right around the corner is kind of my logic. I've done it at home multiple times. Now I just have to make it happen on stage.
All right, Miki Sudo, thank you so much for joining us and good luck.
Thank you.
You've heard of the Declaration of Independence, but what about the Decade 2 rare documents that shaped our nation in 1776?
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our
more back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez with an update in the tropics. The Atlantic's been active. We've already had 3 named storms this season, a lot of it focused on Beryl, which I'll have an update on in just a moment. But in the Eastern Pacific, it's the opposite. It is the record for the latest date with no named storms in the Eastern Pacific. In the Atlantic, we're focused on Hurricane Beryl. We also have behind it a tropical wave, which I want to focus on Beryl, which is bringing hurricane conditions to the Cayman Islands. There's also a hurricane warning for parts of Mexico, including Cancun and Cozumel, as it moves in that direction. So the Category 3 hurricane is going to be fighting some wind shear as it makes its way toward Mexico for today. We're talking about storm surge that could be up to 3 to 9 feet, and also those hurricane force winds spreading over the Cayman Islands toward Mexico. Now, as it moves over land, it's going to weaken and emerge in the southwestern Gulf as a tropical storm, but then it's likely going to re-strengthen, and you can see anywhere from Texas to parts of Mexico need to be aware of Beryl later in the week. So let's take a look at what's going to happen. This is the spaghetti model plot. They're in good agreement that it's moving in this direction, but then you get over here, and that's when you start to see some of the models are a little bit more turned to the north. So we have several days to watch the system, but the steering pattern does show this upper level high is sitting here over the United States. So that's what's helping to move it in this direction. That's why the models agree on that happening. It's going to weaken over land and then emerge out in the southwestern Gulf, where we're going to watch for potential impacts the western portions of the Gulf of Mexico. For today, 4th of July, we have rain to talk about for parts of the Midwest. Some areas have some sunshine. Milwaukee 80 degrees today, Chicago 81, Des Moines a rain chance at 82, Indianapolis rainy for you, Kansas City 85 degrees. You started the day with flash flooding, 2 to 5 inches of rain this morning in Casey, and a chance of some rain tonight right around the time of fireworks. Thunderstorms will be breaking out across Minnesota, Wisconsin. We have heavy rain with the threat of some severe storms in Oklahoma. And tonight at 8 o'clock will be some spotty showers along the East Coast, including down in Florida.
The Summer Olympics in Paris are right around the corner, and NBC has announced legendary sportscaster Al Michaels will be back for the Olympics thanks to AI. The network plans to recreate Michaels' voice, bringing daily recaps of the Paris Summer Games to its streaming platform, Peacock. The new tool, called Your Daily Olympic Recap on Peacock, will feature content like event updates and athlete backstories. Now, the Highlight Package tool will be available on Peacock starting July 27th. In honor of the July 4th holiday, 2 rare documents from 1776 are on display at the New York Historical Society. One is very much supportive of the new nation established back not so much. Spectrum's Roger Clark shows us how during the early days of the United States, not everyone was on the same page.
You've heard of the Declaration of Independence, but what about this document, the Declaration of Dependence? It was a petition from loyalists living in New York in 1776 who were loyal to the British Crown during the American Revolutionary War.
And over a course of 3 days in November 1776, 700 loyalist citizens came to a tavern to sign it.
The document will be on display at the New York Historical Society for the first time in more than 20 years during 4th of July week, alongside a rare original printing of the Declaration of Independence, done here in New York to spread the word about what went down in Philly on July 4th, also from the Historical Society's collection.
And we have some of the nation's most important documents, as well as those representing the history of...
A statue of King George III was pulled down by a crowd of revolutionaries on July 9, 1776 at Bowling Green, after the Declaration of Independence was first read to the troops. A surviving piece of that statue, the horse's tail, is here too. Not to mention this rail from the original Federal Hall in Manhattan, where George Washington took the oath of office for his inauguration, using this Bible and then speaking from this chair. As for documents like the Loyalist petition, they don't get out of storage often in order to conserve it.
We do keep it out of light as much as possible. That's why it's unusual for it to be on display. We also keep it in environmentally controlled storage areas. So that means low humidity and low temperatures.
On the 4th, a celebration includes free admission for visitors 17 and under, a chance to enjoy some 1776-era ice cream, and meet historical interpreters dressed in period costume. Plan your visit at nyhistory.org. Roger Clark, Spectrum News.
I'm amazed to see all those signatures and learn more about Independence Day and the rich history. I'm Jenna Enoch. Thank you for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. The help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."